There's VIP and then there's super VIP. And right now on the line, we have to start the show with the voice of the Golden State Warriors, Bob Fitzgerald, a.k.a. Fitz, on the line now. Fitz, how you doing?
Man, I made the VIP line? That makes me feel really good.
If we had something better than that, you were in it, because I saw you at the Laker game, and I said, Fitz, our signal's getting crossed. We got to get you on. I hope you're getting ready for the holidays, but I got like 100 questions. Larry's with me, so I'm going to get to a couple, and then Larry will hit you. But, Fitz, we got to put this thing together because I want you to take me back to Indiana, the Pacer game on the road. When you saw it, I watched the games listening to you, and I feel like I'm doing a telecast with you and Kalina. That's one.
I love that. That's what we want. That's what we want you
Union
there
City.
with us.
Yeah.
Dub Nation with us. I love it.
Fitz, when you saw the chef, Steph Curry, leave, what went through your mind, and how relieved were you when you found out, you know what, he's not done for the year? The Warriors just got to tread water until he gets back.
Well, I mean, the thing is, anytime Steph gets bounced around, I get nervous. And it's the same thing with Jordan and other guys because, you know, the best ability is availability. And we saw last year, Steph was out, Clay was out, Draymond was out, but when they all got back together, they went 16-6 in the playoffs and they won a championship. I've seen enough football stuff that when a guy gets a subluxation, I knew exactly what that was, left shoulder subluxation. But if you fully separate it and it pops out of the joint, then, like, you know, you can see that you get a bump up high on your shoulder. I didn't see that. I knew he was in significant pain, but I was fingers crossed that it would, you know, come out as good as could be expected, and I think it has. But then, you know, the long term, you start looking at, okay, the Warriors are going to play a significant amount of time without Steph, and they already without Wiggins, and Clay and Draymond are playing through a few things, and it's part of a long season, and so it's like, how do they survive until they can kind of get the band back together and go after teams?
Well, I'll tell you, you know, one guy who's absolutely elevating right now is Dante DiVincenzo. I mean, DiVincenzo Fitz the last few games. He's looked good all year, but right now he looks really good. And I loved when he threw the lob to Wiseman. I just feel like him and Wiseman have a nice little connection. Give me your thoughts on DiVincenzo's increased role with Steph out.
Well, you know, I asked Kalena, and I talked to Steve a lot about this, is that, you know, when people are out, what should be the mindset with the remaining guys? And the mindset has to be the best version of yourself. Don't try to do anything outside of who you are. And so I think that's where DiVincenzo, what am I? I'm a good defender. I'm a great rebounder for a guard. I'm an energy guy. I'm going to play hard. And like you just said, Larry, you know, all right, here's Wiseman coming back. Let me throw him a lob, get him involved. Let's, you know, see Jordan Poole spoon feed a Looney or JaMychal Green for a layup. Like, be the best version of yourself. And I think you've seen Looney and Jordan and Dante, these guys really play at a nice level. The problem is it's a math equation. Without Steph and without Wiggins, you're down 50 points. Now, hopefully you get Andrew back sooner rather than later. But if you're down 50, as tight as these teams are in the Western Conference, your margin of error is nil. So you got to be really good. And so I look at two things each game for the Warriors. What's the free throw disparity and what's the turnover situation? Because those have been the big Achilles heels for this team this year. And if they're right, like they were last night in Toronto, they're going to win. If they have one bad, they might be able to overcome it. If both are bad, that's an L, and that's just how the year has worked out.
You're listening to Larry and Guru right here on 95.7 The Game. It's our pleasure to be joined by the voice of the Golden State Warriors, Bob Fitzgerald. Fitz, Anthony Slater just reported that Andrew Wiggins, the earliest he could come back would be Christmas. So, you know, I was watching the game the other day. I told my dad, you know, I just took Wiggins for granted. And I know everybody's making a fuss about Steph, and rightfully so. But, I mean, this guy does it all on both sides of the court. Can you talk about, and you kind of just touched on it, how big of a loss that is? Because I don't think Dub Nation's really honed in on how much this team misses what he brings to the table.
Well, I mean, you just hit on it, Guru, perfectly, is that you don't want to take him for granted because that's 18, 19 points. That's a career best, nearly 43% on threes. That's guarding the best wing player. That's a guy who found the love of rebounding in the playoffs and has continued it into this year. You miss him at that wing spot in a huge way. And you took for granted how durable he has been throughout his career. He is rarely injured, and that's why a groin or an abductor you got to be super careful with, because you got to make it right, because if you retweak it or something like that, that can be a much more significant long-term injury. So, the medical staff of the Warriors always plays things very cautiously. They got, as Steve says, there's 10 guys whose whole job in the performance team is to evaluate where people are and what they can produce and, not to re-injure them. And so you trust that because it paid off last year. But I can't wait for Wiggins to come back. And if it's Christmas, that'd be a hell of a Christmas present, because they need Andrew in about 16 different ways on this team.
Fitz, I love Moody and Kuminga, but I don't love the way they're kind of being brought along here, or at least what they're getting from them. Kuminga the other night against Philly, half his shots came from beyond the arc. He had no rebounds. He played like 30 minutes. He's got to rebound. He's got to go to the hole. And Moses Moody, especially with the injuries to Wiggins and Curry, he should be a primary scorer for this bench unit. He just can't get any consistent run. What's your feel on kind of how those two young guys are being brought along?
Well, I think for Kuminga, the Philly game you need to take out because they got Embiid sitting in there. So, the Warriors didn't go inside at all, and they kind of lived from the outside. So that might be a bit more of an aberration. I think Jonathan, from the Dallas game to the Utah game, and recently, I think he's played really good basketball because you're seeing him guard everybody from Luka Doncic, to switch on to guards and things like that. I think defensively he's come along. He had multiple games where he had 3 or more assists, which were good, but he's 20. And so he's going to have kind of up and downs. And then for Moody, right now they're playing Anthony Lamb ahead of Kuminga and Moody at different times. It's because Lamb can hit threes. He's a very smart, high IQ player, and he's kind of switchable with Draymond and Looney as far as he's a stockier guy, and he plays kind of a smaller big. I think Steve looks at the season, similar to how I look at it, where the Warriors are 15-16. There are 4 games that they absolutely gifted away. They really should be 19-12. And 19-12 would be essentially near the top of the West. But because you gifted those games away, you get a little more like, let me, go with the experienced guys. Let's have a Jermichael Green play over a Wiseman. Let's have Lamb and Ty Jerome play over Kuminga and Moody. Those are very difficult decisions because the idea is just what you're saying. Let's see these young guys and get them out there more. But because you kicked away some games you should have won, you look at the standings thinking, don't fall too far behind because the West is so solid. So it's not an easy balancing act. They're one they're trying to do. The good thing is that I think the camaraderie and spirit of the team is excellent. And when guys are called upon, they seem to respond. And so it's a long year, and I just think it's good that they have as many quality players to kind of pick from.
Fitz, you and I go back like 2 flat tires. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I panic. I get emotional. And Larry, he knows me. We haven't talked since the Jordan Poole, Draymond Green incident. And when Jordan got off to the slow start, Fitz, I was on here saying I'm worried. I don't know. But I'm watching him now, and I see that cohesiveness. But I've seen Dre give him dap, and I really don't think that's anything. But I still was kind of concerned about Jordan, and I'm listening to you, and you said, you know what? The speed, he's going too fast, and now I feel like he slowed it down. Had a good second half in Philly last night, 43, but the great ones go at their own pace. Break that down for us about that speed that you saw Jordan maybe going a little too fast.
Yeah, I think you're reacting to something that Colin and I have looked at. We've talked to the coaches about, talked to the players about. Jordan Poole is so talented and so gifted that going 90 miles an hour, he's got 16 different moves, and the ball, bounce off someone's foot or bounce off his own foot, or he'll go too out of control and spill out of bounds. 70 miles an hour, Jordan's still better than anybody guarding him. And so something clicked from the second half of Philly through all the game last night. There are times to go burst. There are times to slow and let that screen get set. There's times to stutter and then go. And he was mixing in all of those beautifully. And so then when you see that happen, better shot base on threes. Oh, wait, the threes start going in. Oh, I don't have to go all the way to the cup. I'll pull up for a mid-range or floater. He's got that in his game. Wait, I have a guy on his hip. I'll go by him. He fouled me. I'll get to the line. I'm a great free throw shooter. So the way he's balancing the last couple games, just moderating that speed, not always the fastball. Sometimes you throw the curve and the changeup and other things. That's when Jordan's at his absolute best. And I'm telling you, the 6 quarters he played, second half against Philly and the 4 last night, that Jordan pool is the pool we saw when Steph was out heading into the regular season or end of regular season last year into the playoffs. And I just think Jordan was in a rush early in the year, and I can't quite pinpoint why, but dude, you're so good and you're so much better than some of these guys trying to check you. Just 75 mile an hour instead of 90, and things will be better. And I think he's figuring that out. It's also too. I always kind of remind people, Jordan's 23 years old. This is the second real year he's been a key cog in what they're doing. There's a lot on his shoulders right now.
You know, it's such an interesting year because the Warriors are the defending champs, and they're trying to balance development and winning games. And right now, they're basically 500, 15-16. If the season ended today, you know, they're in the 11th seed. Fitz, in your mind, what's more important for the Warriors in the rest of the regular season? Is it to get a certain playoff seed or certain, seed in the West? Or because I would contend that the seeding is not important. They can win the title out of any seed. What's more important to me is that they get their 3 young guys in their rotation somehow, some way before April. How do you see what's more important? Being a 4 seed or having Kuminga, Moody, and Wiseman ready to roll come playoff time?
Yeah, you're sizing it up great, Larry, because to me, I think anybody would say you got to be top 6, okay? You don't want to be in the play-in stuff. Like, just stay out of that. Like any one game, you could get 7 technicals in a game like we had in Milwaukee. Like you could have any one game scenario, forget that. So get to the top 6. Is that realistic for the Warriors? Yeah, they're 3 games out of the top 6 right now. They can get to the top 6. But then I think if you say, and Steve calls these guys the foundational 6, Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Draymond, Looney, Jordan, okay? Those 6 guys all got rings, and those 6 guys can carry a team in the playoffs. But you tell me who 7, 8, 9 are. Now, 7, 8, 9 are Kuminga, Moody, Wiseman, great. If 7, 8, 9 are DiVincenzo, Wiseman, Anthony Lamb, great. If 7, 8, 9 are Anthony Lamb, Ty Jerome, and DiVincenzo, just tell me who 7, 8, 9 will be, because 7, 8, 9 last year were Porter and Payton and Bielitsa. So I know who my foundational 6 are. Tell me who my next 3. Maybe JaMychal Green's one of those. I mean, who knows? I'm just saying you got candidates that when you come to April, I need to know who 7, 8, 9 are. Then if I'm in the top 6, I know, okay, I got to go on the road. Warriors in the playoffs on the road have the NBA record, 27 straight series, at least winning 1 road game. Never been done by anybody else. So I feel good about that. And then you ask yourself, who can beat the Warriors 4 times? Who do you really think, with your house on the line, Memphis going to beat them 4 times? Pelicans going to beat them 4 times? Phoenix, Denver, the Clippers. I mean, they're going to beat They can beat the Warriors 4 times.
Love it.
I'll take my chances.
Yeah,
I'll take my chances with the Dubs. Now, I'm not saying the road would be easy, because the West right now, there's so many teams that could come out of the West. Memphis, New Orleans, Denver, Phoenix, Warriors, Clippers. Those teams could all come out of the West, and this is a weird year in that the talent level is amazing. And then you look at the other side of the bracket. I think Milwaukee or Boston's going to come out of the East, but I'm just saying you laid out kind of what's the goal. Be top 6 and tell me who 7, 8, 9 in the rotation are ready to roll in April. And I think that's kind of the goal from Christmas to April to see if we can answer those questions.
He is the voice of the Golden State Warriors, Bob Fitzgerald. We know you're on the road. You're busy. Thank you for your time. But before we go, because Larry and I are about to get into it, Fitz, I know you're probably excited about your Justin Fields, your quarterback in Chicago, but Niner fans on YouTube, they're clamoring. Ask Fitz, how far can the Niners go with Brock Purdy?
Okay, I am going to stand tall. Larry can vouch for me on this. I said Brock Purdy should be on the team in training camp in preseason.
Uh-oh.
I was not a Nate Sudfeld guy. I wanted Garoppolo back, and I wanted Purdy to make the team. So I was very happy with both of those outcomes. And in Kyle's offense, with Purdy being a distributor, as good as the Niner defense is, and as good as the running game can be, I and you can ask. There's a bunch of Niner people know this because I texted them this. I have it Philly Niners in Philly for the NFC title game, and I got a good look at Jalen Hurts yesterday. I think the Niners can handle anyone on a given day.
We love you, Fitz.
I think anybody, just be accurate, Brock Purdy. Don't commit turnovers and let Warner and Bosa and those guys knock people in the head. So
there you go.
I think the Niners got a hell of a shot here. So that's now, Guru. I'm going to be thinking about you tonight. I mean, multiple nights in New York City here. I mean, Monday night, then the Knicks tomorrow, then Brooklyn. I mean, there's a lot of nights in New York City. So, if you got somewhere in the streets I should be going or avoiding, be sure to text me and let me know.
You know what? I will do that, Fitz, because we got my family. We got to see the Michael Jackson play on Broadway.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. New York's incredible. I know, Larry, you got probably been there 10 times. But enjoy yourself and be careful, Fitz.
All right, guys. Well, call me anytime you need me. Good hearing your voices, and have a great holidays if I don't talk to you before Christmas.
Thanks, Fitz.